Hello, Dota 2 fans, and welcome. Third, final, best of three of the day BTS series for Europe Division Pro Dota Gaming versus Fantastic 5. MRP joining you once again. Mike Loris by my side for this one, and hey man, we finally get to cast Kefka.
I know. I have to always walk that fine line between making fun of him while at the same time not fanboying too hard when he makes good plays. It's sometimes a little bit difficult, but as long as he hits like that perfectly solid yet not too exceptional line, then I think that's good. Of course, Pro Dota would rather have him just go off, but usually just like as a player, Kefka's not really one of those. I mean, off lane it's
Yeah,
typically hard, but it's getting a little bit easier nowadays with more Sand King. Typically is one of those heroes that
yeah.
is just going to make those plays.
Sand King and Void definitely two highly favored offlaners recently in the meta. OD is a hero that's come definitely back into favor quite a bit, especially with the new skill build and especially with the popularity of Void. So not I haven't seen it first phase banned yet. I've seen it second phase banned. I've seen it picked in 2 games out of 4 today. So definitely a hero that's on a lot of teams' radar, but interesting to see a Fantastic 5 remove that in the first phase from Pro Dota. But they will go, as you alluded to, from towards that Sand King, likely for Kefka in that offlane.
It just seems like he's been playing perhaps more of that than anything else. Taking a quick look at the bans, Kunkka getting banned out, and yeah, this is definitely one of those heroes that is like never banned sometimes, but then sometimes you just see him always first picked. And I
Mm.
mean, when you're planning on opening with the Shadow Demon, another one of those heroes who fits pretty well into that spot, then the Kunkka ban kind of retroactively makes what would have been better for Fantastic Five, but taking that one out rather early along with the OD is a little bit curious to me. I feel like the OD is probably strong enough to warrant banning. The Kunkka probably not
Hmm.
in general.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the Shadow Demon more often than the Kunkka, but Kunkka bans in place of the OD as well. So I would see both of them usually ban in the first phase, but Kunkka definitely of the two, the one that slips through a lot more often. Oracle still in the pool, pretty darn good to get up against the Slardar, having the Purge there, and just in general, pretty good against the Sand King. So something that Pro Dota may consider pick banning in a sense, and you don't really want to grab up 2 cores in this first phase. It's a little bit telling as to kind of the theme of your draft going forward. Fantastic 5 going for the Slardar this early is a bit interesting as well. But they have some at least good setup for him early on before he's able to pick up an initiation tool with the Shadow Demon. And Shadow Demon always nice to have up against any burst initiation potential, like the Sand King having the disruption behind that. Also makes a Void pick a little bit more scary for Pro Dota if they were going to look at that perhaps in the safe lane. But they will pick up probably the strongest hero left in the pool at this point, grabbing themselves the Mirana.
Yeah, another one of just these pro Dota staples. I like this Fantastic Five opening because in the team fight context, it gives them kind of a little bit just of leeway. Like as you said, Shadow Demon very good against burst, but if he's up against burst that comes in too quickly, then you can't disrupt people, and then you're kind of not good at that anymore. But Sand King and Mirana, like their burst comes fast but slow enough so that you can dodge at least a little bit of their combo and keep those heroes alive. And when you're talking tanky heroes like Slardar, who also has sprint to get out of those very similar situations, then Fantastic Five, as long as their Shadow Demon doesn't get caught, is just going to be an all-star here, like all-star specifically versus Sand King, not to mention the fact that offensively as well, just by having Soul Catcher and amplified damage on any one target, that guy is going to die super quickly. So it does offer them a little bit of flexibility both offensively and defensively, and it doesn't really like cripple their lanes or anything like that. But Pro Dota, I mean, they have stun to stun, they do have that burst, and if they find a good angle like Moonlight Shadow or something into the Shadow Demon, then you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Nice ban as well from Fantastic Five. Going to take out the Oracle that we mentioned, and Pro Dota, 2 really good combinations with the Shadow Demon and the Luna and the Morphling. So going to be able to remove that kind of cheese route for Fantastic Five to get those extra illusions and siege high ground with those, as well as both of them being amped up by both magic and physical damage, as you mentioned with the Soul Catcher and the amp. They both would have been very suitable partners for the Fantastic Five opening thus far. We'll see which route they go. They're still, Juggernaut in the pool. He can benefit from those illusions similarly, and is fairly resistant to all the magic damage bursts with the Blade Fury. But definitely a lot of options for both sides here going forward. The bans are kind of very standard from what we've seen today and throughout BTS 4 thus far. Batrider has post TI really been held in high esteem by a lot of these teams in the pro circuit. I haven't yet to see him make it through 2 phases of bans today, and he has yet to be picked and in all four games thus far.
He was probably open in the first phase, right? And teams just
Yeah.
decided not to go for him. I think that's like a good spot for a hero to be. If I'm a hero and I'm always being second phase banned, and or if I'm Ice Frog and that's the situation, I mean that hero's probably in a pretty decent spot. But
Yeah.
now I'm curious to see what Fantastic Five are going to do after this, because I was not expecting someone like an Abaddon. I was gonna say like the heroes that typically want to play with Shadow Demon as far as making illusions and sieging are concerned, usually are not the same type of heroes that want to be going up against Mirana and Sand King, who have a lot of magical burst damage, usually tend to do pretty well versus illusions. Abaddon is just a giant tank, and as far as sustaining the team, they've now got it in spades. Their defensive play is definitely there, but perhaps most importantly of all, Mirana's arrow suddenly no longer super impressive.
Yeah, the Aphotic Shield going to be there to purge that off. The stun off is definitely a very nice tool for them to have, and maybe allows them to look at an aggressive lane. Either way, Abaddon Shadow Demon can deal very well with the Sand King pending the safe laner if he doesn't end up being one who's self-sufficient against that SK. And with Luna, Morphling, Drow, all these range carries banned out, likely will be something melee for Fantastic Five in that safe lane. So Aphotic Shield, I guess a bit of an insurance policy. It's not like you expect Prodota to pick up the Abaddon against your Slardar, even though it's good in that scenario. But either way, yeah, a lot of defensive capability there against the Mirana and the Sand King, as you were mentioning, with the Aphotic Shield and the Disruption available to them. So Fantastic Five definitely going to look to fight early and often with this opening.
And if there's one thing that's more annoying than Weaver, it's Weaver with the Aphotic Shield on him and an Abaddon rather behind him. That is incredibly difficult to deal with in lane, but I mean this Weaver outside of that, I mean there's a lot of stuns he has to worry about. There's a lot of magical burst damage he has to worry about, and yeah, he will have the borrowed the shield, the time lapse and whatnot to try to keep himself safe, but this Weaver is in a very, very precarious position. Positioning for Abaddon and Shadow Demon is going to be king, and in that regard, Prodota, the faster they get their Blink Daggers, the faster they can mess with that positioning for Fantastic Five, the better off they're going to be. It does seem like Fantastic Five want to hit just like a super powerful mid-game timing with this type of lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely felt like, something like the Jug was maybe a bit more resilient in that position, and the Weaver is a bit of an all-in pick. But having the Abaddon behind him, he should feel fairly safe. It's just a bit curious to me as to they saw the Lion pick and didn't even take a second to think. It was instant Weaver pick, so kind of disregarding perhaps what Prodota's route is and just going for their own sort of a solid cohesive draft for themselves. So this is an interesting pick for Prodota. Kefka, I know, loves both Sand King and the Timbersaw. It's probably more likely that the Timber is towards the mid, but now they have some variability in the way they want to lane this.
Yeah, we've seen Ping Vinchek play a lot of the Mirana, but grabbing a Timbersaw, that's definitely a possibility as well. Probably would depend most on what this last pick from Fantastic Five is to what their lanes are actually going to be. But I mean, you're looking at Sand King, Mirana, and Lion. Like all three of those heroes can just do anything and be almost equally effective in any of those lanes. Timbersaw is almost to that same degree, but the way you play him certainly does change a little bit more. Still, for Prodota, they could juggle their lanes however they want, and Fantastic Five, I suppose something similar can be said. But right now, you're looking at them probably not trying super eagerly to get kills, and they have these nice little combos, just bubble them into the crush or something like that, or have the Weaver be really cancerous, the Shikuchi at the same time keep him shielded, and see if you could chip away at softer heroes like Lion. But as far as the overarching game plan, it does seem like Prodota will have a little bit of leeway in the early game to kind of just play their own game, play aggressively if they want to, or just put shields up for the mid game.
Could see a Dazzle here. It looks like with the Slark ban, Fantastic Five's expecting one of the Mirana or the Sand King to be support, and it does seem like that is actually the choice here for Prodota. So they will throw the Darkseer up likely into the hands of Kefka, and that'll mean that either the Timber or the Mirana takes towards that safe lane. I was just looking for something with armor. It doesn't seem like they have much to deal with yet, all the physical damage that's going to be coming out from Fantastic Five's lineup at some point. But perhaps a Crimson Guard built up on the Darkseer or the Timber at some point could help them in that front either way. Like we said, they had a lot of versatility available to them for that last pick, and they're going to go for the Darkseer here, which is a bit of an interesting pick. Nothing major in the way of... I mean, the lane matchup is good for him if he's solo against a Slardar, but nothing major in the way of kind of the wall or the vacuum into the fights. It could be nice on top of the Weaver with the Lion, but other than that, looks like just a stable laning decision there.
Yeah, just a comfort zone pick, pretty much as comfortable as they come. That being said, I'm not really sure if I like the Darkseer here. Like, there are many combos on the Darkseer's team which make him a lot more viable, with Sand King, with Lion, with just Chakrams and Star Storms and whatnot. And yeah, that can get some serious value, but is Darkseer really offensively going to do what you want to do up against Fantastic Five? Again, the positioning game is everything for Prodota, and maybe you could blink vacuum into a spot where that'll actually catch someone on the edge, but more often than not, that's not going to be happening. The wall is probably not going to do anything up against Fantastic Five. They have like the most wall of replica resilient heroes in the game, it seems. But yeah, the Darkseer will just have to hold it down in the laning phase, and even though you may not be like most perfectly positioned offensively, you still have so much magic damage behind your team. And as you said, it's a mech carrier. Like, if they just pick a mech carrier last, then they're going to be in a pretty good spot, and they did.
Yeah, they definitely want to be skirmishing early and often with this squad. There's very little reliance on cooldown. You know, we talked about kind of the wall and how ineffective potentially it may be overall. So you just see him skill up his other abilities, look to fight, get up an early mechanism, you know, possibly be a little greedy with Come With Me, try and get him his Blink Dagger, and then the potential for the, vacuum burrows, vacuum epicenters are definitely there, and mech advantage is going to be a big one in this game. Fantastic Five, they don't want their Slardar building into that early on. They want him to be able to counter initiate or initiate as well, so perhaps that's what tips the scales early on for Prodota here. And it looks like Golden Star could be in a little bit of trouble. He's going to run into a lot of heroes here. They'll get the arrow off short range. Oh no, it'll whiff. Actually, Garter a little bit greedily holds on to it and allows Golden Star to get off the sprint, and the second Burrow Strike gonna come through, but Aphotic Shield will be there. So Come With Me has a clarity, will be able to come back up in terms of his mana pool, but unfortunate misstep for Prodota there, letting the first blood slip through their fingers.
It's like half a second of stun, 50, 70 damage, something like that. It'll definitely be enough to get a kill. So it's not really the start you want. Sand King has gone for Wind Laces, not Boots first, so he's pretty quick in order to land those burrow strikes, but is also being played in this kind of more rare, at least kind of older school 4-position Sand King. We'll see how aggressive he's able to be with the stuns that Prodota have. It is very possible that they're able to roam in and mostly with the usage of smokes get a couple of kills, but at the same time, you need to balance Sand King's roaming and killing with farming. A hero like Lion doesn't have to deal with that at all. He could just always be roaming and killing. But if you're an underfarmed Sand King, even if you're in that kind of supporty role, you're not going to be incredibly useful to the team. So this is going to be a very delicate game here for the Sand King if he's unable to find these kills. And well, that would have been a really nice one to start out with.
Yeah, definitely so. So top lane, they're going to secure Illidan's farm for the time being, and Kefka is just going to shove this lane in. Weaver... not a hero that's going to be all that concerned with the Iron Shells, but sprint up, Yol, Golden Star taking a lot of harass here. Does have his Abaddon behind him, but that's a lot of regen already. Had to expend that salve earlier on because of the first blood attempt, and will now have to waddle his way, or slither maybe I should say, his way back to base. But elsewhere, it looks like Fantastic Five are doing just fine. Kefka, he's not going to apply all that much pressure to a Weaver. BZZ should be okay on his signature puck in the mid lane against Ping Vinchek, although he won't be able to necessarily zone him out of lane.
The mid lane's probably going to be fairly slow. It is, of course, the bottom lane where all the opportunities are going to be. It is damn hard, though, to kill an Abaddon or a Slardar. Of course, Sprint leveled up level 1 is going to mean that for Prodota, they can play this lane full throttle. They can be as aggressive as they want because the kind of turnaround potential for F5 is non-existent. Even when you're level 2 and you have that crush, it's not really a huge deal. So they're going to put the pedal to the metal at least as much as they can, and underfarmed Slaughter, underfarmed Abaddon, if that is going to be the end result out of this lane, and it does look like it's kind of trending towards that, then having kind of a weaker right-click hero like Mirana as your safe lane carry is probably not going to be that big a deal. You're still going to get a farm. You're still going to be a very substantial threat. You don't have to worry about someone like a Slaughter all the time blinking on you. Beaver getting into another fight. Garter's got the arrow. This time it'll also miss. They have the Hex. They don't have enough mana for a Burrow Strike, though. Right clicks will not do it.
Yeah. Come with me, a little bit low on mana rotating in there, unfortunately. And had the arrow landed or the Burrow Strike comes through, they probably get the kill. So twice in the game thus far, Golden Star. Actually 3 times if you include that first blood, able to narrowly escape death. And Kefka, he's already been essentially forced out of lane solo. And actually, I don't know if that was an intentional suicide as he was walking away, but will end up dying to the creeps. And may even give over a creep kill or two over to Roman with this arcane rune picked up. He'll be able to take down this large creep and get himself a little bit of extra experience. So nice little win for Fantastic 5 there. And you know, you pick this Darkseer to be able to pressure the lane. You pick him to be able to find farm early on, and as you mentioned, pick up that mechanism in reasonable timing. But it's not the ideal start for Kefka.
Dying didn't really cost them all that much gold, but as you mentioned, they lost the rest of the stack there to the Shadow Demon, who I don't think got any experience or anything like that from killing off Kefka, who, by the way, might be going to die again. Illidan's going to go in pretty deep. Kefka jukes into the trees, but Illidan still has a little bit of sight. Iron Shells go up. I think he's okay. I think Illidan's kind of stuck.
He's going to have to loop around. This is going to cost him quite a bit of farm. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Yol able to get a kill. Golden Star may be the trade for it, though. There's a pounce forward if need be for Garter. He does not want to expend it. Will have to, just to follow up his arrow and watch it land. Yol, oh, he's in trouble. The arrow from the tree line will connect. Double kill going the way of Garter. Going to salvage that bottom lane after they ended up losing their Sand King. But either way, that's going to be nice for a nice start for this Mirana. Pingvin check taking damage mid lane. Waning Rift's going to be there. Fairy Fire, though, will keep him alive for now. There's rotations in from the north from the Shadow Demon, and Ping wisely will be able to chain out down to the south. Come with me, in trouble. 2 seconds until burrow. The disruption's actually going to buy him enough time to burrow, but not enough time to survive. And BZZ wisely phase shifts as soon as he comes out of the disruption as well to ensure his survival. So come with me, rotation to the mid lane, essentially saving Pingvin check, but he's going to end up being the sacrificial lamb for his squad.
So this bottom lane is definitely getting a lot more interesting. We got the Iron Talon now up on the Slaughter, so he has definite farming options. We have Abaddon with the boots and the Windlace, so you can't actually land any two-man stuns with this two-man combo anymore, regardless of the fact that they're melee. The Sand King going in on a Slardar was usually the way you want to open, but now that the levels are starting to come up on both these heroes, the Slardar just having that natural tankiness is becoming a lot less attractive. Like, you Burrow Strike in, yeah, you get the stun, but you immediately get hit with the crush, you immediately have to deal with the shield and the miscoil, and your follow-up may or may not be there. Garter at the same time also not really keeping up in CS with the opposition safe lane. Illidan is having a perfectly free time with, I would argue, probably more interference given ion shells and whatnot. So Garter, nice double kill, but he really does need to just get the CS as well or get more kills.
Bottom lane, Haste Rune, come with me, gonna look in, Burrow Strike short. And Golden Star, and unable to get the crush off. Had he gotten it off under the tower, could have been scary for Come With Me, but we'll be able to at least dodge the burrow for the time being. Had an aphotic shield behind him regardless, so not sure that he gets hit by a follow-up arrow. Mid lane, Pingvin check gonna go in. Chain does connect onto BZZ, but unable to bring him down. Whirling Death would have made it close. Either way, we'll be able to back out. Golden Star, aphotic shield already used here. 7 seconds on cooldown, but we'll be able to just sprint away to safety once again. And as you mentioned, the CS gap is starting to widen here between the Illidan Weaver and the Garter Mirana. Garter did pick up that double kill, though. So it's not a complete mission success to have these two heroes over in the aggressive dual lane. They haven't quite stifled the Mirana's farm, but the Sand King is not near where he wants to be in terms of his capability to be able to farm the jungle for Come With Me. He's just level 3 right now. No real farm to speak of, just the Windlace and the boots.
2 Burrow Strike, 1 Caustic Finale. He's actually going pretty deep in the early game aggressive train. He's got the boots of speed now with the Windlaces, so landing the Burrow Strike shouldn't really be that much of an issue, and he's going to try to go for one probably over towards mid along with the Lion, but BZZ already getting aggressed upon by Pingvin check. Ideally for PD right now, the puck salves up and stays in lane, then they go for the kill. And they really need this kill for Come With Me. He needs the experience. BZ caught. Will lose his salve halfway through. Spike
Nice
follow-up.
spike.
Spike clicks with the chain. I think they got him. Yeah, they do, but the coil drops. And now Come With Me's in a lot of trouble. Goldstar is here. He'll crush the Sand King down. Everyone else will slip away. But Sand King, even though he does lose his life, gets the experience, then dies. That's perfectly fine for Prodota.
Yeah, well worth the rotation as well. They pick up the puck kill. Garter's not, at all going to be stymied bottom lane farming, so they don't really lose much elsewhere. Illidan is still free farming, however, on the Weaver, and in general, you're not all that scared of a early mid-game Weaver with free farm, but with an amp damage on his side, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with going forward. So that is an issue that's gone unaddressed thus far by Prodota's side.
Now Slaughter, level 5, getting experience from that kill. Quite nice for him. He doesn't really have to be super high leveled, and Puck is going to fill that role. Illidan is for sure going to fill that role. So this mid-game timing for Fantastic Five maybe could be in a slightly better position if their bottom lane didn't give up that double kill to the Mirana, and the Slaughter was actually able to get some cash out of that lane. But pretty much everything is coming up as it should be for them. Then the best part is that there's just no pressure being applied to Illidan. The Sand King, the Lion, the heroes that can kill off a Weaver just have never been able to go all the way up to this top lane. So Weaver now is way past the point of him being vulnerable. He's got Shikuchi on a super low 6-second cooldown, plus the time lapse at the ready, plus maybe even enough firepower just to turn things around if he does get aggressed upon. So Illidan is going to have a free ride for, it looks like, the entirety of this game, until Blink Daggers come up on Sand King or Lion, and those are really far off.
Yeah, CS looks good. Illidan looks good in terms of farm, but once again, those kills netted by Ping Vinchek and by Garter, the double kill in the bottom lane, are going to be what propels them above Illidan in terms of net worth. So both tier 1s as well, kind of same amount of punishment been put into them by the safe lanes, and now the Prodota safe lane will posture up aggressively under the tower and actually look perhaps to eliminate it. Mid lane, they're going to go in. Ping Vinchek, he's going to snap the coil. He gets Demonic Purged as well, but he's a very tanky kill here. Very tanky target, I should say. Crush is going to connect on the Come With Me. Once again, it looks like he'll be the sacrificial lamb for his squad as they do rotate in Illidan. But you use a Demonic Purge, you use a coil, you bring in your safe lane carry, you only get a support Sand King. I think Prodota are okay with this, in all honesty. And Garter will be able to make it out west bottom lane. There is a Crush available. He's going to go for the double Star Storm. It actually doesn't connect onto Golden Star. He's sprinted up here, and now they will come through with the orb. Crush nicely timed by Golden Star, and they will end up getting the Mirana. Unfortunate that he's able to fog him there and does not get hit with that second star. Else would have died, but Garter a little bit too deep bottom lane, and that is a big value kill going the way of Fantastic Five.
Yeah, I mean, everything was pretty much decent for Prodota with that mid lane exchange up until that Mirana death. That is really something they can't afford, as I mentioned earlier, and really the entirety of the Prodota team. It's not really a right-click based team. So, once BKBs come up for Fantastic Five just on a handful of heroes, then suddenly Prodota's heroes become pretty much trash. So they do have, a certain window with their lineup where they're going to be at full effectiveness, where F5 aren't really going to be able to respond with the perfect itemization counters. And that window is coming up soon. It will be a lot slower if Garter keeps dying. It will go for the tower, but I don't think it's going to drop.
They have Finger of Death. There's a sprinted Slardar here. He needs to be careful not just to get bursted, and he will. One last right click, and can't expect to jump forward with a level 6 Lion like that sprinted up, but relying a little too heavily on the Abaddon behind him, and Yol does not have his 6 either, so Come With Me stalking him to the west. To be a little bit careful not to show himself in lane, but it looks like he'll be able to soak level 6 here in due time. Either way, that first Finger of Death immediately utilized, and it will bear fruit. Burrow Strike not going to connect, neither will the arrow. Now the TP coming in from the Shadow Demon, who will be able to disrupt. Do they have
a leap?
Yeah, they have a leap. They have... Oh yeah, no leap at this point. Wow. Burrow Strike not going to be enough. May even cost Come With Me. His Death Mist Coil will be there as well. Yol gets a double kill as he picks up his level 6, and once again, Garter overstaying his welcome in this bottom lane. And it's going to cost him dearly, as about a 1,200 gold swing and 900 experience swing goes the way of the two supports of Fantastic Five. And just a moment ago, Lion was out leveling them, but now Abaddon level 6, Shadow Demon level 8. Ping, he's going to be coiled up. Snaps it, but will die as the swarm comes through and actually gets killed off by the tower, it seems. But either way, going to be a nice kill going the way of the dire side. Illidan's first 2 rotations have bore fruit for him. He's got the Aquila up as well, looking for a Dragon Lance, it seems, with that Band of Elven Skin. And has the Blightstone plus the amp damage. Should be able to deal a pretty hefty amount of physical damage in this early mid game.
A lot of these problems for Prodota are kind of being caused, whether inadvertently or not, by Come With Me and in his Sand King. Like, he's been trying to go for a lot of what I would say are probably good plays, or at least plays that are going to lead to good results most of the time if you land your Burrow Strike, but for whatever reason he's been missing them. And for Fantastic Five, having just these wind laces and the boots, having the sprint, tranquil boots on the slaughter, having just a lot of movement speed, makes it really difficult for a Sand King to actually land those Burrow Strikes. And if he's not landing those Burrow Strikes, then what does his build do? Like, he doesn't have any Sandstorm, he can't farm really well, it'll be really slow at the level 2 Caustic Finale, so he has to go for those Burrow Strikes. He has to, otherwise he's going to be doing nothing all game. But Fantastic Five are just answering him, or he's playing poorly, or a combination of both. And now the Sand King is kind of gimped. I mean, he does have the Epicenter, but still, he has to keep going for those plays. And for Prodota, that last one, that killed off their Mirana. Even if they get that kill and they still lose the Mirana, it's not worth it. So it seems like Prodota, they have a game plan that really requires the Sand King, but for whatever reason, he's just unable to deliver that first Burrow Strike.
Yeah, and they definitely are a very skirmish-based lineup. Top lane, Pingvinchek showed, and the Moonlight Shadow was scouted there, so it's going to be a nice scan from F5. They know exactly what's happening, that they're kind of baiting this Timber underneath the tower, but they are prepared to fight here. Coil is at the ready. Everyone at full health. Come With Me just picked up his Epicenter, but he's going to be the first one to be run into. Gets the burrow off, but he does get crushed up thereafter and brought down. Coil immediately placed down by BZZ will be what secures his death. It'll also be what saves the tower for now, and is going to force the rest of Prodota to disperse. Meanwhile, though, they were farming Garter mid lane, and once again, it does seem like Biver's always able to kind of find himself a nook across the map and get a little bit of farm on this line, sitting on level 8. So he's doing well in terms of levels, but it definitely seems like Fantastic Five are fairly happy with how this game is going thus far. They've been able to kind of stymie all the aggression of Prodota and find a lot of farm on their Weaver. If they can just get some sort of initiation tool for their side, whether it be on the Puck or the Slaughter, they'll be very happy to take these engagements hereafter.
Conversely, if Lion is actually able to find these, kind of pockets of farm here and there, getting a line with the Blink Dagger can not completely mitigate, but, kind of balance out the fact that your Sand King is underperforming just by having a Lion who, with the Blink Dagger, who is almost as deadly, or at least on a similar level, can enable the Sand King, can once again enable Mirana's Arrow to be just as effective, and they're going to go for a smoke over towards the mid lane. A Puck they can kill, a Puck with an Abaddon? I don't know.
Gonna be a difficult kill. Biver gonna look to go in. It is nighttime, so they get in range in time. The phase shift will be there, though, as the Abaddon is behind. Coil connects onto 3, Waning Rift onto 2. Biver in trouble. They'll go for the Moonlight Shadow, but he's already amped up on the Lion, and they'll turn for the more important target. That's the Mirana. Now the Burrow Strike connects onto 3. Kefka will be there. Big Chakram as well, but they lose Mirana and the Lion, as Golden Star once again initiating with the Crush. Pingvinchek, he's in trouble now. He's amped up. Surge will be there from Kefka. Kefka trying to make it out towards the east, and actually he's going to look to go for the solo kill on RMN, and he should be able to find it with the Ion Shell, but will he pay with his life? It does seem like that's the case. One more right click coming through. It'll be BZZ's to get there first, and Kefka hanging around to save his Timbersaw will be able to do so. Gets the RMN Shadow Demon on the back side, but it's 4 heroes dead when all is said and done. None of the cores from F5 end up dying, and yeah, just nighttime paying dividends for F5. They don't see the Abaddon nearby. They try and go for that Puck, and the shield is there in time for him to be able to phase shift away most of that damage. So big swing going the way of F5.
That's almost like the peak fight for the peak counter fight, I should say, for Prodota, where they kind of lure F5 into a Darkseer. They get the 3-man, 4-man vacuum into Burrow Strike, which is almost entirely what they pick up the Darkseer for that vacuum set up into some other spell, and it lands perfectly, but the Darkseer, because of his slow start, still doesn't have the mechanism just yet, doesn't even have maxed out vacuum. The Sand King, his combo was just the Burrow Strike. There was really no combo there, so the small bits and pieces were missing there, and for F5 they are tanky enough. They have this high level of Abaddon with all the sustain that comes associated with that. They're able to kind of just brute force their way through that combo. Prodota, if they aren't able to win a fight like that, then they really have to be more proactive in the way that they look for those fights, and I feel like they can't do that until Lion gets a blink, or somehow Sand King gets a blink before Lion, which probably isn't going to be happening. Without that, they really just will suffer at that positioning game that I was mentioning earlier. They have yet to play around it in any real sense.
BZZ as well, couple hundred gold away from his blink, and there's the Slardar blink. So fantastic 5 before Lion or the Sand King are able to pick theirs up. We'll have 2 initiation tools, both can initiate and counter initiate, and with the Abaddon behind them, they can kind of go in with really no inhibition. So fantastic 5. You mentioned Prodota hitting a little bit of a peak in terms of strength there. Fantastic 5 are going to be able to really show their strength in the next couple of minutes. They go forward mid lane, only 2 heroes though, and they just don't have enough burst to bring down Pingvinchek with the full soul booster up. So that is going to be the reveal of both of at least the Slardar blink. Now jumping forward once again, he's going to find the crush onto Come With Me. Waning Rift will be there in time. Vacuum not going to be able to save the Sand King. And double damage with the amp.
The Weaver went in deep to the Timbersaw, who teleported from mid, where he was already at half HP, to top, and Illidan just tore him to shreds with those beetles. Level 3 Swarm does a substantial amount of damage, and Timbersaw just wasn't expecting that. The Weaver has the Chiguchi and the Dragonlance for chasing, and they take the tower, they take 2 kills, and the map is now slowly starting to shrink for Prodota. They really need to start making some plays. Their high ground defense, if they had blink daggers and whatnot, would be really good, but I mean, there's still a lot of towers to take. Their tower defense, you know, they will start to just lose all of these if they're not going to have the way of initiating.
Yeah. Mid lane, they're just going to kind of threaten the Abaddon here. He's, you know, very tanky target, subpar to initiate on, and they've got blink initiators behind him. Regen rune up onto BZZ, kind of just trying to bait a fight in mid lane. And Moonlight Shadow was expended from Prodota, but it doesn't look like they'll be able to find any sort of initiation because of it. Come With Me going to be farming up mid lane. Slardar encroaching, and it is daytime. So maybe could have made a move uphill there, but worried about what lurks behind. Can only see Garter in the top lane on the Mirana. So a lot of heroes missing for the Radiant side, but Perseverance is up onto Illidan. He's got 2,000 gold, so almost has a full Linken's up now. Jumping forward top lane, Garter is going to be able to leap out to the east. Waning Rift not landing there.
So Shadow Demon has a blink dagger. It almost seems like Shadow Demon is going to be doing Sand King and the Lion's job better than both of them. That's really all Prodota need, just someone to start those fights. And now the freaking Shadow Demon and Slardar have their blink dagger. Of course, Puck has the blink dagger of his own. So positioning game is probably going to be won by F5 more often than not. At a certain point, the Prodota side need F5 to make a positioning error where they just clump up a little bit too much, get hit with the Burrow Strike, hit with an Epicenter, and everything goes to shit. It might go down towards bottom, but Illidan's going to Shikuchi right after the Burrow Strike, so he's going to be just fine. F5, as long as they're careful, as long as they leverage this Dragonlance Weaver to kind of just slowly chip down the towers, they should be okay to get a lot of tower cash.
I'll drop some boards, will the Radiant side, and so they will see the lineup of Fantastic 5 approaching their jungle. We'll be able to back off in due time. They do have that mechanism, so they could maybe look to take an engagement here with the Timbersaw, but he is so close to this Bloodstone at this point that it looks like they'll just opt to trade towers right now. Don't want to continue to set him any further back, but actually is lacking the Soul Ring, so fairly substantial amount to continue on and find that golden start. Backing back into the wall, will drop off the crush, and the chakram will not land as he was sprinted up, so we'll be able to make it back out of the fight. He can reinitiate here after if he'd like to, but BZZ gonna back off mid lane, and they're just gonna look to eliminate that tower bottom, which Illidan is able to do successfully, and he'll be able to complete up his Linken's here relatively shortly.
We got a really important timing here for Prodota. They have to find success with the Blink Dagger they just found on the Lion, the Bloodstone on the Timbersaw, and also the Aghanims on the Mirana. This is their peak, and with the Bloodstone, they get rewarded the most for it. That's why we see the smoke up right now, but I don't really know if it's going to work. They're going to walk right into Sentient and a two-man crush. Oh, they're going to take a beating right now. The Lion's going to get one spell off. Misses, gets the finger onto Golden Star. Star Storm will kill him. but it's going to cost them two, giving both of them to Illidan. And the rest of Prodota now, they can't really mount any sort of defense with the threat of these remaining heroes from F5. So that's not the fight that Prodota really wanted, because the Blink Dagger on Lion, well, it did nothing.
Yeah, and they don't even get the experience for the Slardar kill as the Mirana goes down as that projectile was in the air. They still have a coil. They can continue to get aggressive, and that's exactly what they'll do. They'll jump forward, grab a coil onto two. Mechanism's going to be popped a bit early from Kefka. Will keep them safe for now. Kamathi's going to come through in the backlines with the epicenter, but it's essentially going to be to zone them away. So they'll bait out an epicenter for a coil. Definitely a good trade for F5. And the mechanism is what saves Prodota there, but just showing their aggression. Jumping forward to the high ground is Come With Me. He's pretty much isolated out. Now BZZ's going to jump forward right into a Lion's hands. He'll get hexed up, brought down. Vacuum will be there on top to ensure his demise. Illidan will find the kill onto Come With Me, but he's used time-lapse. He could be in a little bit of trouble here. Is able to make it back out, and Yol does save RMN in the meantime. A bit of ballsy play from Come With Me, but maybe even ballsier from BZZ. Jumping the back lines, 4 heroes present, immediately gets hexed up and brought down. So overall, that little micro skirmish at the very end, although F5 had the earlier one, is definitely going to favor Prodota.
Yeah, I mean, they basically made the same plays just with different heroes and stanking. yeah, he died, but Puck just died first, and I mean, that's pretty much just the end of it. Having a Slaughter respawning without that follow-up crush, is going to punish F5 somewhat for making a dive that large. They're still going to chip down this tower, and it seems like they're still kind of itching for a fight. All tier 1s now are down, however. For F5, they know that the epicenter is down as well. Double damage, unfortunately for F5, is not going to be available to them as Garter does snag that one, but pick into Roshan right now seems awfully attractive for F5, or just go kill everybody because they found the Lion with the Lincoln Spear. He can't really defend himself well. He will get the Hex off. That will stick. But Illidan, no, stunned up again by the Burrow Strike. Lion still not dead just yet. Now with the Blink Dagger available, he will live. But this is just Illidan and Yol bullying back 3 heroes without losing pretty much anything. So Prodota, that is, yeah, a situation where they get out of, but I'm not really sure if they can consider that a good situation, especially if Kef gets picked off top. Arman, I think he saw him. Oh, he definitely did. Shadow Poison gonna miss one. You'll see him with the second one. Found target. Now with the bubble, Golden Star's right around the corner. Crush is a little bit awkward. They drop the wall. Kefka's gonna pop the mechanism. People are dying elsewhere. But Kefka is in a corner and he's gonna get bashed up and he will fall. It's 2 kills. Well, 2 for 1 actually as the Lion comes in. Takes out the Shadow Demon now, trying to mana drain just so we can continue the fight. But Golden Star is here. Another Crush is available, but now Pink and Check shows his face. Crush can land onto 2 heroes, gonna walk back through the wall. That's not the escape route. He's gonna get torn to shreds by the Timber. Now BZZ arrives, killing off the Lion. Does anyone else want to show up? Because now's the time to do it. We got Pink coming in from the south. That's Illidan going into the Timber Saw. Big Timber Chain away. And it looks like Illidan and BZZ will give chase, but there's no coil. There's no Yules. I think the Timber will live, but we got a little bit of a mess up towards top and over towards mid, apparently, where Guard is trying to go for Yol. We'll fail the arrow. We'll decide to TP away. He should be fine.
Heads up TP coming out from the Mirana there on the back end of that. But yeah, just kind of filtering in 1v1. As is customary with CIS Dota, and a bit of a skirmish top lane. Did seem like maybe with the amp damage, one bash, a lucky bash there for Ghost could have been able to pick off, to kill Biver, even though the shock room was there. But as you mentioned, he decided to walk up to the north through the shock room and the wall, and ends up costing him his life. Felt like he would have died there regardless, so maybe taking the Lion with him was the play. But either way, seems like overall things trade fairly evenly, although Ping does survive for that entirety and is now sitting on 14 Bloodstone charges.
That's big game. The Timbersaw is going to have to do some heavy lifting because Illidan, he gets away with a lot as well. He's got Desolator pretty much almost completed on that courier, and they are going to go in for Roche even before the Desolator is completed. This is a little bold. Prodota do snip this one out. They're going to prep up the invis, fishing with arrows, drop a couple wards. Arman sees the sentry ward goes down. They have 100% knowledge of this F5, but they are on the low ground. Going for this without the Desolator is kind of risky, even though they do have the amplified damage. They should back off and wait for that Desolator.
Arman just getting swatted by Roshan as he couldn't blink out just yet. Meanwhile, though, mid lane, they go for the coil. On to Come With Me. Nice vacuum back from Kefka. Will keep his Sand King safe for now, but with the Aphotic Shield, Golden Star really feeling ballsy. He jumps forward. He'll miss the crush, though, and that'll secure the Sand King's life for the time being. Illidan, deep behind enemy lines, is looking for an opening here. But he is all by his lonesome. He'll get the courier, and he will be able to lapse himself out of danger. Although, not entirely out of danger. The double starstorm, the arrow will be there. He already time-lapsed to get that courier. Not worth his life at this point. And everyone else has blink daggers here. Roman and Golden Star should be able to get out. Oh, Golden gets his blink dagger canceled. Now BZZ, he's going to reinitiate with the aphotic shield. Will jaunt out to the north. Come with me. Is there, though, alongside Pingvinchek. They're going to look to try and take down the Puff. BZZ is able to blink out. Now on the back lines, vacuum back Golden Star. They're able to take down the Mirana. Kefka simply going to TP out here. Ping, he's in trouble. Gets Yule's up mid-timber chain. Come with me. He's going to drop under the silence, it looks like. One last right click will finish him off. RMN trying to still provide vision for his teammates of Pingvinchek. And they will continue to jaunt forward, looking for more. Golden Star has the aphotic shield, but he gets blown up. Chain and the pure damage there from the Whirling Death. I'm not sure if the Whirling Death hit a tree, but the chain at the very least, the pure damage. Now Kefka back in, does have the vacuum mechanism on cooldown for another 20 seconds. Ping just standing in his chalkum. Jump forward, though, from RMN with the Soul Catcher. Should be able to bring him down. He'll suicide. Gives him enough time to get that off. And 5 seconds till a blink for the puck. So he won't be able to continue to press forward. And what a split up engagement that was. The team fight recap only catching the one death on the end. But the Slardar dying definitely not ideal for F5 on the back end.
I mean, the Weaver died first, and everything that happened afterwards was F5 fighting without their Weaver. In that context, that fight went pretty darn well for F5. Like, they lacked their biggest damage dealer. They were trying to kill off the Mirana with just like a Slardar and an Abaddon, and I don't expect that to work, but somehow they made that happen. So they actually got quite a bit done without having their highest damage dealer. And of course, maybe that means that they have the lowest payoff. You want Illidan to be getting those kills, but for Prodota to just start the fight off with getting that pick, and then they just all got separated. Their team is not really the team that wants to be separated. Mirana and Timberstock can both do okay, but all the rest of the heroes need to be together and need to combo their spells in order to be at the most effective, and that just didn't happen after they got that Weaver pick. So the Prodota team fight just kind of dissolved. They probably were going to be better off just getting the Weaver, saying, okay guys, we did it, let's go home, but just pushing a little bit too far, and that kind of messed up with their own positioning. Yeah,
they jumped forward very deep with the Timber and the Sand King to try and bring down the Puck, and Puck is a very elusive target, so cost them a lot of time and essentially their Mirana. Top lane, come with me. Oh, was he scouted briefly? Looks like he may have been. Yeah, looking for him. Oh, RMN just in the nick of time. The TP is going to complete. RMN unable to take him out, and we'll drop down that anti-split push. Anti-ganking ward over on the cliff, and now they'll go right back into Roche with the Desolator this time. Completed up the extra -1 armor from the Swarm as well. This will be fairly quick of a Roche attempt, and it doesn't seem like Prodota will be able to assemble themselves for this one as they were for the last.
Amplify damage, Desolate, Swarm, and Curse of Avernus. Doesn't get much better than that. Illidan now with a double life is going to be an absolute menace. They do scan to see everyone coming in. Prodota, they really want to fight this. They do arrow Yell, but he's got to borrow time. I don't know if he's at the point where you could Finger of Death burst him through that. I don't think so. Level 2. I don't really know what the point is, but either way, Fantastic 5, they get away with the Roche. Tier 2s still stand. And Prodota can fight over those, but again, they are just short of the Blink Dagger for Come With Me. If they have a Blink, Burrow Strike, Epicenter, then F5 will definitely reconsider. But right now, I think it should be just use the Aegis. Go ahead and kill things. Go take towers.
We'll see if they assemble up here. They definitely do have the wherewithal to fight at this point. Everyone kind of with their core items. Jump forward from RMN. He is going to find the Demonic Purge. They're going to look to take out Come With Me. Jump forward. Oh, they're going to miss the Impale here from Biver. Veil is up. Coil is there. Waning Rift's going to connect as well. They don't have enough detection, though. They will catch the Crush onto Come With Me, but with the Orb, he'll be finished off. Biver trying to make it out to the west. Will be able to blink up onto the high ground. And does end up making it away. Illusory Orb. Too late to scout him out. When all is said and done, it's simply a Sand King pick, but there aren't really any trades being found here for Prodota's side, so nothing much lost for Fantastic 5, and they'll continue to move forward with their grasp on this game, looking at about a 7k net worth and experience lead in their favor.
Did miss this. Yell does have a Gem of True Sight now, so Mirana, Sand King, they're lucky that it worked out that time, but I don't think it's going to work out next time. Illidan is going to get caught over towards the mid lane. He's got backup. Two-man spike is good to stall that up, but Gold Star lands an even better stun. Darkseer down first. Penguin Check is in a lot of trouble, taking a beating from the Desolator. Now he's going to get coiled into place. He can't leave from that. Can't suicide either. Illidan gets another 2-kill. And that is going to be pretty darn expensive for Prodota. Elsewhere, you'll playing some games with Garter, but Abaddon's occupying the carry core Mirana's time very effectively just by himself. And now backup's coming in, so it just seems like in every single engagement, Prodota just aren't all quite there. They just
they found the lion.
to make it good, but they're not there. Beaver, by the way, is going to get left behind over towards bottom lane, so he's dead now. Ironman's going to get caught by Garter and come with me. If he gets out of this, that's a freaking miracle.
Yeah, he is dead, but definitely an expendable casualty for F5 side. Mid lane, just a case of 2 Blink Daggers is going to beat 1. BZZ, unfortunately, blinks into that stun from the Lion, who was counter-initiating for his Weaver. Counter-initiating on the Weaver. But at the end of the day, the Slardar are able to counter-initiate on top of that and hit that crush, as you alluded to. So F5, they're just all over the map at this point. Another initiation tool available for the Slardar. With his 4-staff, Illidan just naturally very mobile and does have that Aegis, so no reason for them not to at least take out this tier 2 bottom lane.
That one should be pretty quick now that Illidan has arrived with the Curse, with the Desolator and whatnot. Still a little bit of Aegis leeway here, but I don't really think that's going to matter. We do have Come With Me pushing up towards top, just trying to get some value there, and he finally does have that Blink Dagger now. So for Prodota, all of their really big, useful items are there. They aren't really going to get many other items that'll give them a substantially large increase in power. They're going to jump in, though, towards the Lion. He's going to get torn to shreds by Illidan. Oh, man, that's a stun and, like, 2 right clicks from the Weaver and a dead Lion. Elsewhere, the Sand King still being chased down. We picked off by the Puck and the Shadow Demon. And down towards bottom lane again. Penguin Check going to try to go in, but gets crushed for his troubles. 3-man vacuum is good, but they're just going to walk away from that. These illusions aren't going to do all that much either. Penguin Check going to chase forward. Talking completely whiffs. And F5 should make a clean retreat. They have backup coming in from mid, slowly, but they'll disengage. Prodota, they use almost all of their assets for that.
Yeah, it's a lot. Definitely a lot used. It was a nice arrow by Garter, but Abaddon just always there behind his carry, and that's why Illidan is just kind of playing with really no hesitation on this Weaver, and it really has paid off. The aggression thus far, 30-13 for F5. They are winning these skirmishes, although dying while doing so, and they'll take a poke at the high ground with the Aegis still available on this Weaver. It's only about another 30 or 40 seconds though, so they need to be careful not to overstay their welcome, and they will back themselves out of bot lane.
Yeah, Aegis timing out very soon, but they will have another big set of items. You don't really have to abuse the wall cooldown all that much, because again, wall isn't that good here. You do have to work around somewhat the Moonlight Shadow, but again, you have the gem on the Abaddon, so it's usually going to be a pretty good response. So for F5, they can almost play as aggressively or defensively as they want, even if they want to, which they probably shouldn't, but they hit the brakes right now. Just start playing glacially slowly, get Illidan 6 slotted. I still think they have a substantial advantage in this game, but I mean, that's probably not going to be a good idea. They lose the Aegis. They've got, my god, a lot of items coming. Hood on the Shadow Demon. There's a Plate Mail on the Abaddon with components to boot. And Illidan, yeah, why not go for an Orchid?
Yeah, can build that into the Bloodthorn. Actually ends up being a pretty decent right-click item. Really good against Penguin Check on his Timbersaw, or pretty much anyone they initiate on. Definitely can be a very scary item going forward into the game, that we've already seen the Waning Rift do some work against this Radiant squad. So fully completed up, allows him to stay on the map, gives him a lot of regen on top of the Perseverance. And with the amp damage, you don't necessarily have to go pure right click, so a bit of utility. The Bloodthorn will be able to scale it into some right click, and there's Penguin Check immediately having to use that off as he reveals it. But they can still look to hang around and fight. Maybe perhaps look to take out the top lane tier 2 first and foremost, and then look for a Roche. But for now, they'll just constantly keep the wave shoved in. It looks like top lane Come With Me able to make it out. Does have his Blink Dagger on the Sand King. Eul Scepter is there though, and Come With Me. He's gonna get coiled up. Veil will be there, and it will snap through the Burrow Strike. They do not have their Abaddon nearby though, so Moonlight Shadow will keep him safe for the time being.
He's coming though. They found him.
And there's the Abaddon. Come With Me. He's in a little bit of trouble. He burrows right down into the hands of Illidan. And 2 right clicks with that DD will do the job and do it quickly. Oh, they'll march down this mid lane. They've got vision here. And it looks like they will have RMN perhaps join them up as well. He's feeling a little bit tentative in this bottom lane, as he should. Garter gonna maybe look to scout him out, but no, just walks right by. Needs to go defend his base. Illidan has an Abaddon behind him. Got his Lincolns. Dragonlance feeling fairly tanky at this point, and now RMN in bot lane is going to try and find out Garter. This is a big target if they can bring him down, but they'll simply force him away from the base and look to continue sieging with the Mirana unable to contribute here. Look at these right clicks from the Weaver. Double damage rune onto Illidan, just expiring now, but it does allow him to get the range racks in the meantime, and still no response mounted here just yet. Jump forward, Biver's going to get crushed up as he tries to stop the Weaver. Arrow will fly through though, it's 5 seconds, but the disruption is there from RN. Now jump forward, Waning Rift will keep Illidan safe. He'll jump back into the melee rack, should be able to bring it down. Yules will keep the Timber safe for now. Epicenter is there, Illidan taking a lot of damage through the time lapse, could be in trouble here. And they will at least drop the Shadow Demon. Now chain forward. Oh, the snap from the coil stops Pinkvinchek from killing off Golden Star. Illidan is still alive, hanging around, very ballsy at this point. Ends up just being a Shadow Demon for a Lion, but they do not finish off the melee racks. And now the Moonlight Shadow popped. They're looking for more with Garter, but doesn't look like he'll find much here. And Illidan just standing around with that time lapse, only getting him about to 50% HP. Most of the Epicenter hitting on him. Didn't really get an Orchid off onto any key target in that fight.
Dropped down to literally 50 HP, but, you know, just walk out of there, easy peasy afterwards. While that Sand King chase was going on, the rest of F5, they were able to get into a little bit of a skirmish with the rest of Prodota. They forced out the wall, but, I mean, in the larger context of things, F5, they're just playing to their strengths, which is that any one hero on F5 is going to be stronger than, in general, any one hero than Prodota. Prodota, any two heroes are probably going to be stronger than any two heroes of F5. And they're able to separate them. That's why they go in for that Mirana again down towards bottom lane. If you kill her, fine, you get Raxes, and you probably are in a pretty good spot to win the game. But if you don't, you waste a lot of her time. You separate Prodota, and you let Weaver and Yol just go to town on the mid lane. And pretty much no matter what for F5, it's a win-win unless Mirana somehow gets like 3 kills and still gets away, which just isn't going to happen. So F5, they're really, really doing well, playing to their strengths through mobility and just the fact that they have a Weaver, they have a Slaughter, and they have heroes that can complement them so well just in these small skirmishes. Prodota are being split apart. They have to make sure that they stay in a 5-man crew because we saw how much damage the Epicenter did. That absolutely destroyed F5. If they're able to land another one, they'll be golden. They're going to try to arm another one right now. Here it comes onto Illidan, onto Golden Star as well. It's perfect to kill off the Slaughter, but Illidan does survive with the time lapse. Now going to go to town onto Garter. Yule Scepter is there. Illidan going to get torn apart by the Chop Room, and he will go down. It will be a 2-for-1 so far. Yol gets yanked up to the high ground. Armen stuck down low. The wall is deployed now. Yol, I don't think it's actually touching him, so he should be fine to survive up there, but he's not really doing all that much. Armen, in the meantime, getting bursted down by Garter. Sandstorm, of all things, to get the kill. It's a 3-for-1, and now F5, they're on the run. BZZ, the last one to survive, the Abaddon, does get taken out on the cliff. Yule Scepter Garter's going to leap in, look for the final hits. It's not going to happen. The puck will survive, but man, what a world of difference an Epicenter makes.
Yeah, I mean, Illidan just, it seems like in both the last fights, hanging around a little bit too long. I mean, yeah, you have a Dragonlance and a Lincoln Sphere, you have an Abaddon behind you, but he's just sitting there and tanking Starstorms and Epicenters. And you can, you can time-lapse off one of them, but both of them is going to be difficult. Pinkvinchek with all his damage as well, has the Shivas, and that'll be a tier 3 going their way. There's still 15 seconds on the sidelines here where they need to delay it out. The Burrow Strike is going to come through. They're going to almost burst completely the Slardar. Now he's down 60 seconds. This is just going to be Rax going Prodota's way after one fight. They've been losing almost the entirety of the game in terms of at least economical advantage, and he's going to whiff the Waning Rift. Come with me, looks to go back in onto BZZ. It's a nice reaction with the phase shift. Come with me, in trouble now, and probably simply will be the sacrificial lamb for his squad, but that's all they get. And Melee Rax was secured top lane. They get the Slardar once again as he initiates, so really good positioning from Come With Me up in the top tree line, and he was able to blink down and take out the Slardar as he just tried to delay things out.
I would not have expected Rax advantage at this stage in the game to be in Prodota's favor. They lost a range but gain a melee in the past 10, 15 some odd minutes. It is still not them in a super comfortable spot. Like, they're really just barely edging out these kills, mostly because the Lion is somehow always disabling the Weaver perfectly with Mana Drain to pop the Lincoln Sphere, and then Hex, Spike, whatever, that are sticking through an Abaddon and a Shadow Demon. For F5, they're just not executing those team fights well enough. They have to make sure that these heroes, especially with Blink Daggers, are close enough to the Weaver so that they're able to just buy him a little bit of time, get rid of those disables with the Aphotic Shield, or just bubble him, and then probably the Weaver is going to be fine thereafter. Or if you really want to just stop all the problems, just get a BKB on the Weaver, and usually you're just going to not die from that point. But until that actually happens, Prodota, if they're able to group up and keep taking fights like that, they may just be able to start chipping down some of these other sets of Raxes. Again, it's not really the cleanest way to play the game, but I mean, it's kind of just abusing the fact that F5 have been a little bit lackluster on defending the Weaver.
Yeah, with all these Blink Daggers behind them, they should be able to at least get one defensive spell off, whether it be the Disruption or the Aphotic Shield. But there is a lot of burst damage over on Prodota's side, and Illidan, perhaps just a little bit too far forward, needs to let the Puck or the Slardar do the initiation. I mean, he walks in to that team fight maybe 25 seconds, 20 seconds before the rest of his crew was even nearby, and just kind of relied on his elusiveness, natural elusiveness, to allow him to survive. But that just wasn't the case there. And again, come with me on the high ground. Positioned well, so Prodota definitely breathing signs of life. I mean, this was a Weaver in that fight that goes down. That's, 4K net worth ahead of all his counterparts on the opposite team. So giving over a lot. You look at the grass, and they're almost back to parity here from what was nearly a 15K net worth and experience lead going the way of F5.
Do Prodota have a Veil? A Veil would be seriously amazing here for Prodota. It doesn't seem like they do have one. Doesn't seem like anyone's really in a spot to be able to build one, but yeah, they are kind of just all in on that burst train. For F5, they have to be on the ball. I mean, there is also a Lotus Orb, by the way, on Abaddon, so just more defensive power versus these spell-based heroes on Prodota. If the Shadow Demon's also to build up into a pipe, which he is going for, he's going to have very soon, then a lot of these problems are going to be at least somewhat mitigated, but he doesn't have that right now, and it does seem like a big fight is going to be happening right now as F5 try to go for another Roche, dropping incredibly quickly, but Prodota are here. Are they able to get in fast enough? Arrow's going to come in. Kefka is going to jump in, push two up to the high ground, wall them both. The Aegis does go down, smashed by Kefka, and now F5, they lost the Weaver. They're going to lose Slaughter as well. It's 2 for 1. Oh no, F5, now Garter gonna chase the rest of them down. He's on top of Yul, does have the borrowed time still, but really I don't see him escaping from this one. In the meantime, Penguin Check's gonna force away BZ to make sure that it is just the Abaddon on an island by himself. Coil does drop Kefka. I think a pretty big blast from that Dagon will lose his Aegis, but I mean, that's just a bonus. It will disengage without getting any more of these kills, but for F5, they lost 2 of their more important heroes and they get nothing.
Yeah, forced the time lapse out right away, and the force staff of the Slardar with that beautiful vacuum onto the cliff. And as soon as they come back down in the pit, they come back into a world of hurt. Now mid lane, Yule's up on the creep. Kefka, though, he will find the vacuum, but the Lincoln Sphere will keep BZZ safe from the Burrow Strike. And for now, it looks like Prodota, that's all they'll be able to get, but it's a big win for them over by the pit, if nothing, to deny that Aegis from Illidan, as they've shown the capability to kill him off in these last couple engagements. BZZ jumping forward, Guardian's Greaves from Kefka will keep Garter safe from that burst damage, and they will get the tier 2. And likely look to back out here. Yul gonna have his borrowed time popped up. They're gonna Yules him up and maybe look to re-engage here. Stun is gonna be there from the Lion. Arrow, nice defensive disruption coming out from Roman. The chakrams are there though, and the pullback damage is gonna be enough. Come with me. Now coming through with the epicenter. Doesn't do a whole lot of anything as BZZ was able to phase shift and blink out to the north. But they do get the Abaddon kill on the back end of a great engagement. They get the tier 2 as well. And Prodota definitely feeling a lot more confident after what was a lovely play from Kefka to initiate that fight.
Have Finger of Death still, double chakrams. Timbersaw has enough mana regeneration to stick in these fights for a long, long time. They may not have the epicenter right now, they may not have the Moonlight Shadow, but all they need is just an opportunity to make this kind of advantageous play into almost a game-winning play. They're going to jump in for Kefka over towards mid. Bloodthorn is going to kill him off real quick. There goes the gem. I think that did belong to the Abaddon, probably. Well, either way, it's back in the hands of the Dire right now. So they will gain the Darks here at F5, But yeah, they really have to make sure not to get on tilt right now. Don't walk into the epicenters. Make sure you have the sentries up for Moonlight Shadow. See it coming, and F5 definitely do still have the capacity of taking these team fights, but I don't know how Prodota are always able to kill off the Weaver without any sort of interference from the rest of the F5 squad. It just seems like that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, it does really feel like the play just has been a bit subpar from Illidan thus far on the Weaver, considering the kind of start he had. But either way, classic Kefka, game-winning-ish play, and then just hang around with Gem in the mid lane and feed. But either way, yeah, it definitely does seem like F5, as you were kind of touching upon, have kept their wits about them. You know, they're able to assemble towards that mid lane and take the free pick on the Darkseer, which gives them a gem as well. And you know, having Roman on the Shadow Demon, it's pretty easy for them to deward across the map when they pick up that gem. So definitely a nice tool for them to have. But signs of life here for Prodota. 3k gold up in the hands of Pingvinchek. Kefka sitting on 4,200, 3,300 on Garter, and Come With Me sitting on 2,500 of his own. So that Veil you mentioned, maybe a path that the Sand King could be considering here, or the Mirana for that matter. But all these heroes sitting on a pretty big bounty of gold here for the Radiant side.
Oh my god, Sand King actually has a lot of cash.
Yeah.
I did not expect 10k net worth Sand King 45 minutes in the game, considering how the early game has gone for him. Even going for drums into Blink Dagger, not just straight Blink Dagger, so a little bit of a detour there. Now he's got the Eul Scepter 2,500 on top of that. I mean, he's already good to go, and as long as he has that cooldown Epicenter, he will be able to perform. But he's looking for a kind of cheesy pick with Garter, and he's going to find one on BZZ. Maybe Epicenter is used. He's going to do like 100 damage. And now they're just going to try a TP away. Come With Me is going to get lifted up out of it. Garter's going to pounce and snap his coil. They'll lose the Sand King, but not lose the Mirana. It could be worse.
I'm not sure what makes you think you can get a pick on a Puck in that situation. But Puck with a Lincoln Sphere, at least. But either way, they'll just lose a Sand King, and hopefully he bought out before dying, but actually doesn't seem like he did at all. Loses about 500 gold for that death, so very costly there. 4,300 gold on the Mirana. Garter contemplating perhaps his route going forward. But yeah, it definitely does feel like they're lacking that Veil, as you were mentioning. Maybe goes a little bit more towards the right click build. The Diffusal Blade's nice against the Slardar as well, so that is certainly a potential pickup here for Garter. But holding a lot of gold, Pingvinchek much in the same, sitting on 4,500. Kefka's going to grab himself a Hex, and wouldn't be too surprised to see the Timber go that route as well. But Pingvinchek, speaking of the Timber, is going to be crushed up, and he's going to be brought down here if he doesn't suicide, more than likely. But looks like they might want to fight this with Garter. Illidan, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. One last right click. Oh, he gets that time lapse off just in the nick of time. Ping still 7 charges of reactive armor up. Is going to try and chain out to the south, but gets blown up as BZZ comes in. BZZ will get the second kill as well. Kefka with a big wall. Burrow Strike will finish off BZZ. They get the Lion. Garter still standing strong, though. Illidan wanting to chase. Greaves keep them fairly safe, but a jump forward with the Bloodthorn. They will be able to finish him off with the Soulburn. Double kill for Illidan. And unfortunately, they lose 3 heroes in the top lane due Prodota. Kefka again with a nice counter initiation, but BZZ getting there in time to burst down some targets. And now Illidan grabs up a Reaver.
If they just land that arrow faster, if Miran just, like, you know, goes to the gym one more day, she fires a little bit more weight in that bow, they get the kill on the Weaver, and then it's just all hell breaks loose for F5. But because Illidan gets that time lapse, now he's able to actually start sieging the high ground. And for Prodota, that retreat was a little bit sloppy. They ended up clumping up in the retreat, which is never really what you want to be doing. Goldstar jumps in, misses the crush. Illidan's still going to go for the Raxes. 80 HP, he gets it. And even has a lot of backup behind him, piping up. They should be able to get away with minimal casualties.
They may want to reinitiate.
There'll be no casualties. Yeah. F5 taking now the full set of the mid lane. Prodota. That is another one of those fights that we saw a little bit earlier in the game where F5 were actually able to somewhat preserve the Weaver, preserve the heroes that matter. And Prodota, they are very, very cooldown dependent. And when they have the cooldowns, when they use them, yeah, it's a lot of damage. But in between, they really don't do all that much. That's when you want to strike as F5, and that's exactly what they did. So one lane of Raxes isn't really going to mean all that much in the context of this game, but hey, it's his first step.
It's going to be a BKB for Garter. They'll complete that up after top lane, but with the Slardar on their side and the Weaver dealing as much damage as he is, it could be A little bit of a risky pickup. Either way, looking to continue to skirmish here is Prodota, and that is what their lineup does best. So we'll see if they're able to find a fight. They did Moonlight Shadow there, but it looks like just no one nearby. Perhaps just looking to kind of secure their jungle area. They don't get many wards down in the meantime, though, and there is, of course, the gem up on both sides. In fact, Kefka's picked up another gem for himself, and he does have the Hex ready. Mao mid lane, though, come with me, in trouble. He's going to get Bloodthorned up. Gets the Yule Scepter off. Jump forward, though. Crush will be there, and come with me simply will accept his fate. And they'll get a courier as well. In the meantime, that Radiant courier going to be taken out.
Oh, that's... I mean, it's not really a super significant hero to lose, but at this point, they can't afford to lose anyone.
Oh, Illidan arrowed.
Illidan with the Ethereal Blade. They still chain stun him.
He's hexed up.
Chakra him. A little more right-click damage. They got him. No more push here, F5. Time to go home. Garter, though, jumping forward, trying to make sure they can't leave. Even check is silenced up. Double Chakra once again at the ready. Oh, Shadow Demon. That is not where I want my Shadow Demon to be, I'll tell you that. But either way, Prodota, they hold, man. They hold.
Yeah, they hold well, and once again, just brazenly up on the high ground, Illidan's Weaver. So I'm sure they didn't expect the Kefka Hex to be there, and with one hero already on the sidelines and come with me Sand King, you think, oh, their routes of initiation are limited at this point, but Kefka, once again, with the reveal of the Hex, is able to facilitate the takedown of that Weaver, and it'll be the Shadow Demon to fall shortly hereafter as well, likely. There's a Lotus Orb in 2 seconds and an Aphotic Shield. Yul actually does turn around with the disruption, but they'll bring him down in ping. He's even going to look for more here. Jumps forward into a crush, gets amped up, can continue to give chase. Kefka does have a vacuum, he will find Yul with it. Lotus Orb is there, jump forward, Waning Rift onto 2. Forcing out the BKB on the Slardar could be a pretty big win for them. They do get the Yule Scepter up onto the Abaddon, into the arrow. Borrowed time will be there, but it looks like Yule should more than likely end up dropping here. Curse of the Avernus on the illusion will slow him down, and Lotus Orb will not save him here, as they'll TP back BZZ towards the top lane to deal with the creep wave pushing in, and everyone from Prodota that has travels, at least, is going to be up to the top lane. Penguin check's pretty low, though. Needs to be careful. Arrow is there, double chakram. Yeah.
Dude, F5 are falling apart.
4 heroes dead on the sidelines, only 2 of which have buyback at this point. And it looks like the lanes are a little bit far pushed out for Prodota to continue. They need to at least reconvene as a group. And it looks like they'll do that towards mid lane, where there's definite potential for them to take at least a tier 3 here.
Come with me. You gotta be so careful, dude. Again, they need everyone. They're gonna pop the Lincoln Sphere, go for BZZ. They bubble him, though. Epicenter's still there. He should be fine, I think. Yeah, he's not there anymore. I don't know how he got out, but he's gone. Come with me. He is gonna die in the end, because some things never change. F5, they do get the bubble at the right time. If they lose the puck there, that's really, really bad. But they hold just as Prodota held their bottom lane, and now it does seem like we're gonna have a little bit again of a reset. Epicenter being down, Sand King being dead, probably not gonna matter all that much. I don't think F5 can make a beeline for this Roche pit. There are just way too many varied threats at this point from Prodota, so it does seem like we're gonna have a little bit of a stalemate until someone is actually able to get into that Roche pit.
Yeah, both of these teams certainly having apparent difficulty going high ground. And I don't know, a couple of very forward initiations from both sides. Illidan and Come With Me have both been, I want to say, a little bit affected by hubris in this game. It feels like Illidan has always felt further ahead than he actually is, especially having his 2 defensive supports, and Come With Me just kind of jumping forward, initiating without enough or without enough immobility behind him to get back into the fight. And it's not only that, it's that they keep initiating on the most elusive target on the Fantastic 5 side. 5-second arrow will hit onto Yul, but not going to matter all that much, as no one really inbound to look for a fight here. But it seems like a Lotus Orb going to be completed up here soon for Penguin check. Nice against the amp damage to purge that off. He has been bursted down to the point that he's at least out of the fight a couple of times here recently on this Timbersaw, and you just kind of expect him to be more tanky.
So just another answer also to the Bloodthorn effect. Just get rid of that, scrub that off, and that's probably one of the bigger threats. You know, silences in general. Just what you want to do. If you can reflect it, you're going to be feeling pretty good, but I don't really know if there's any like amplified damage reflect. Who cares, right? Either way, he's still pretty darn loaded, and he's gonna have that flying out to him pretty
Scan.
darn soon. Scans though gonna go on both sides. Prodota don't have any secrets here. They don't have Moonlight Shadow, so they can't make any secrets either. So it is gonna be a situation where probably Come With Me is gonna get picked off. Calling it right now.
Well, they don't look to take the engagement. They kind of realize that Illidan is bait at that point, and the last couple times he may have appeared as bait, he does end up dropping. But in this mid lane, it being nighttime, it is very hard to judge who's nearby. So both teams kind of doing the Roche dance now. They'll both back off, but not too far away from this pit, because they both realize this is a very pivotal marker for them to make in the game. This is going to be Cheese, third Roche of the game. Ping walking into the pit. Dire Sentry's on the ground. And there's going to be a crush. It's going to find Biver. BKB is going to pop up. Ping check looking to find RMN on the back lines. Come With Me is going to miss the Burrow Strike onto the Shadow Demon. He gets the Yules off. Defensive Yules coming out. Kefka should still have the Greaves available, and he does. They'll pop off the Finger of Death onto Illidan. They get the Burrow Strike off. Epicenter is there as well. But the time lapse will come out for Illidan. Now Ping, he's in trouble here. Lotus Orb already popped up, and he will die to the Soul Burn. Come With Me there to fall thereafter. Golden Star taking some damage from the wall illusions, but will be able to kill it off. And overall, 2 for 1, going the way of Fantastic 5, and this will definitely open the door for Roche if they want it. But it looks like they're going to march down this mid lane as 5.
Man, the focus fire for Prodota was really well planned, but just not high enough. Like, they were trying to go for the Shadow Demon first. And that's why they kind of converged all up on the upper lip of the cliff just to try to get to the Shadow Demon. And that didn't really work out all that well. And because the Shadow Demon survives, they're unable to take out the Weaver, who also barely gets the time lapse out, and who's, by the way, now going to go to town on the Lion. Kefka also feeling the burn right now. But Fortification probably not going to save these Raxes. I don't think Garter can. He's going to just stall with the Yule Scepter and the arrow and whatnot, but killing Illidan right now, that's not going to be happening. They'll lose the range. Melee will be preserved as Kefka is going to show up. Doesn't have a sheep stick just yet. Illidan thinking about staying. He's got a heart at this point, so he's really big. Gonna Bloodthorn Kefka, gonna go in pretty deep. Golden Star with the 2-man crush, gonna kill off the Darkseer. Penguin Check does not do enough damage versus this heart of Illidan, at least not by himself. BZZ now going to arrive. Kefka's gonna bite back, but I don't really know if he can do enough at this point. They just don't have enough DPS to kill off this Weaver without more stuns, without more disable. They need a Finger of Death or something. Weaver's still going to town. We got a Puck standing in the wall. No big deal. We'll get out of there. Phase shift. Keep himself alive for a couple more seconds, and we'll blink down to the low ground. Even if he dies right now, they do take the Raxes. The Epicenter there. They finally have a chance to kill off the Weaver. It looks like they will have enough. And they'll probably be able to get the Slaughter at the end too. No BKBs. Tries to get out of there. No BKB piercing stuns. It'll be a full set of Raxes claimed by F5. Costs them the Weaver, yes, but I think this one is worth it.
Yeah, definitely so. They have the buyback available as well, and it just feels like, Biver and Kefka, one or the other, have been kind of saving the game for them over and over again, whether it be in the mid lane or on the high ground. And, with the Lion down for that fight, it just wasn't enough for Prodota to be able to defend high ground. So, I mean, with double Chakram and with the Aghanims Mirana, 2 lanes of Rax is certainly not the game over, but it gives a lot more breathing room to this Fantastic 5 dire side. But they're going to try and take advantage of this 50-second window with no Weaver. Come With Me once again. He's going to miss the Burrow Strike. It's going to be short of Yol. And Yol will be able to back himself away. So, in the meantime, they perhaps could have been bringing down this Roche, but they look to go for the kill. Fantastic 5 are going to successfully distract them, at least for the time being, but 35 seconds still on the sideline for this Weaver. Mid lane is kind of shoving in, so this attempt should be fairly obvious to Fantastic 5, but it looks like they'll just allow him to respond naturally and not go for this contest.
Man, it's such a shame that the Slaughter doesn't have just a little bit more farm. If he did, they could crash this Roche party so hard, because Prodota don't do this quickly at all. Garter's right clicks is kind of pathetic. Penguin Check just got the double Chakram out there, and the right clicks of Lion, I'm not really sure are gonna do it, but they will eventually kill it off. That's an Aegis, that's a cheese for Prodota. Most importantly, however, it's not Aegis cheese going to the hands of F5, and that's really what they want. Just deny it in any way, shape, or form to F5. 2 Raxes down, yeah, it's a lot better than 1, but still for Prodota, they need to make sure that they have enough damage at the right place to get through to that Weaver. Heart is gonna make it so difficult for that to happen. If they kill off the supporting cast, that's the best way of doing it, but losing Garter is a bad way to start. He's very far out ahead of his team, but he will back off successfully. This is the point of the game where I think for Prodota, the best course of action is no longer focus the Weaver, it's just ignore the Weaver, kill off everyone else, and then take the Weaver afterwards.
It'd be difficult to do if they get a couple of amp damages off, but they should have enough defensive tools in their arsenal. Even the Yules up on the line for now, or perhaps survive the initial physical burst coming out. So we'll see what happens. Pinkman checks. He's sitting on 5k gold on his Timbersaw, so can potentially replace the Yules at this point. But the silence has been kind of the bane in his existence thus far. He'll at least hold on to buyback. He's got 3k in excess of that. And it looks like they are going to look to fight here, and they're going to run right into the entire lineup of F5. Jump forward from Kefka, finds a 3-man back wall. Epicenter will be there as well. Golden Star, he's in a lot of trouble. Doesn't get his BKB off, and the second Starstorm kills him off. Come with me, though. He'll be the trade. And now double buybacks from the Sand King and the line. They're going to look to continue to chase forward. Leap up. Chain is there as well. Yol, he's in trouble. He's going to be bursted down. Illidan trying to make it away. Chain forward. RMN, he's not going to be so lucky. He'll be Yulesed up into the air. He'll get the disruption off. It'll only delay the inevitable. Prodota will take a three kill fight, but it does cost him 2 buybacks, I believe, on the Sand King and on the Lion. So 2 supports are buying back, but they take a fight in the top lane, keep their last outer tier tower up, which will mean that this lane of Rax cannot get ratted. If any rat attempt comes out from the Weaver, it's going to have to be directly towards those tier 4s.
They also still have the Aegis Cheese, so even though it was a full-scale team fight, Prodota still have more in the tank to go for the next team fight in 40 some odd seconds when their ultimates are back up. So yeah, buybacks are spent first from Prodota, but it does seem like F5 will have to at least expend 1 here. There it is on Yul to try to push back Prodota. And this is again where Prodota don't exactly have the best draft. Killing towers is going to be slow as hell, but maybe eventually they can cut through it. Heyman checks and throw out some blades. Garter, though, really got to be careful of that Bloodthorn. Does pack a wall, jump in. They're onto Illidan with the Burrow Strike. He gets hexed up, but Force Snap out is going to keep him just fine. And yeah, the Puck also absorbing like 2-3 spells without taking any damage. Illidan's still kicking and kicking real hard. Prodota are running out of time. They got to back out right now. And they will do just that, even using the Moonlight Shadow. Can F5 catch anyone on the retreat? It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, bottom lane pushing in as well as mid, and they do have to go and deal with that. There is, fortunately for them, of course, as they took it, no Roshan up, so they can deal with these lanes without worrying about F5 finding any significant trades. But it is a great fight for them top lane. A couple of buybacks exchanged, the Abaddon, as well as the Lion and the Sand King all utilized. So for the next little bit, despite having Aegis, Prodota need to be careful not to allow their backline to get picked off.
Jeez, I'm lying. Not sure if that's really going to do a whole lot right now, but it does seem like everyone else in Prodota are getting very close to 6 slotted, if not are there already. We got the Timbersaw now shipping out something.
Dagon 4.
Interceptor for a level 4 Dagon? I don't know. He has a level 4 Dagon, so
yeah.
Just trying to burst down, ideally, some of those softer heroes before they can really have their impact. The Shadow Demon's disruptions have been just all-stars for F5, absorbing a lot of potential damage that would have otherwise gone to a hero. Speaking of damage to a hero, Garter's up here by himself. It looks like he will decide to back off, but for F5, they still have that aggressive tendency, it seems. The Weaver is almost 6-slotted himself, and just moon shards, upgraded boots and whatnot, and I don't know if you replace anything, but they caught Garter. He has a lot of backup this time. Crush is going to land. Garter, though, is no longer hexed up. Coil stun, still going to keep him there. Now we're going to pop the BKB and just turn around, get a little bit of healing from the Guardian Greaves. Kefka going to drop the wall, not the best, but now here comes the Epicenter. It's going to land squarely into Illidan. He still has the time lapse, he'll get rid of all that damage. It only sticks really onto Gold Star, who's off to the side, only with the line to deal with. They're finally going to try to go for Illidan one more time with the Ethereal Blade, but the shotgun doesn't do anything. Another reinitiation attempt here from Come With Me as they're trying to chase up to the north. How has no one died yet? I don't know. Pingman Check's going to go in for a little bit more. Got 3 heroes on him, but that's way too much damage for the Timbers on to deal with. He'll get silenced twice, and he'll go down. They take down the Slaughter, but it's a small price to pay here for F5. Burrow Strike only onto 1. Come With Me's overextended. He's by himself now. He'll suffer the same fate as his Timbersaw, more than likely. Jump forward from Arman. Another vacuum from Kefka is going to do very, very little. And now somehow Kefka's the one in trouble. Blink Dagger's not going to be able to get him out of that. He'll die as well. For F5, they keep everyone alive, albeit barely, and for Prodota, there's just not enough damage. This is way past the prime of their lineup. They're going to try to go for more. Arman can take a finger. That's amplified by the Ethereal Blade. That'll hurt like hell, but it'll probably cost them the Mirage. She does have a lead. Can she get down to the low ground before she dies? Will she get off to the side? But with BZZ on her tail, Dragon Blast, couple right clicks, that should get the kill. No, not quite.
That's a blink in one.
Run, Mirana, run! Is she really going to live? Holy crap,
it's at least enough for Ping to respawn. So when all is said and done, I mean, yeah, they lose Aegis there. Kefka ends up dropping, and once again, MVP. You know, as we've come back to time and time again for this Shadow Demon, that disruption completely negating the entire E-Blade combo of Garter. He got taken out of the fight initially because he was the one initiated on. As he came back in, he almost had enough burst damage to kill off Illidan. Presumably, excuse me, but another beautiful defensive disruption from Arman keeps his Illidan Weaver alive and allows them to fight on.
Turns out Weaver is a pretty good late game hero when you don't have a lot of damage on your side. Prodota, I feel like they can only kill off Illidan if they actually land like all of their spells without any interference. Like the Shadow Demon cannot be there. The Aphotic Shield, maybe they can still brute force the Weaver through the Aphotic Shield, but man, killing him off twice through time lapse and whatnot, it's just such a tall order until Prodota gets some sort of additional item. I'm not really even sure what that is. Like, probably has to be on the Darkseer, but I mean, he's not really the most offensive hero in the game. Like killing Weaver, what does Darkseer do to kind of enable that? There's not much. So Prodota are still not losing all that much in the way of objectives, which is, I guess, kind of nice, but for F5, they're just constantly beating down, constantly getting further ahead in useful items on more relevant heroes, and that's how you win Dota, man. You should get better items on better heroes given the stage of the game, and they're looking for maybe a death blow right now as they smoke up. Not going to find anyone, because Come With Me is way in the trees for some reason.
Garter has replaced his Aghanims with a Dagon 5 as well, so Dagon Gaming is going to be in full effect here for the Radiant side. I felt like this would have been a really nice pickup as opposed to the BKB a little while ago. We saw in that fight top lane, even with the BKB popped, I mean, Illidan was simply able to just force him out of the fight with right clicks, so I don't know how much that's really doing for her at this point, especially considering she had the Yules on top of that for the silence. So if that's what you're worried about, you know, you have that one tool. But either way, Aghanims will be replaced at this point, which will make them a little bit worse at dealing with creep waves, but you should have Ping to be able to do that. And now E-Blade, 2 Dagons on top, have a lot of burst damage, and as you mentioned, you know, maybe with the finger and those 2 Dagons, they're able to get down Illidan before RMN can react.
The Ethereal Blade finger Dagon attempts. I'm not sure how
it's a bit of an outlier.
Sure that kills the Weaver.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do the math, even though we're paused. I'm not gonna try, but it seems unlikely. And the Weaver's still, by the way, been playing this entire game with no BKB. It doesn't seem like BKB is really in his sights at all this game. He's really got the Moon Shards eaten, so he's pretty much done with his items.
So yeah, 2240 magic damage with the 2 Dagons before resistance. So you add the about 1,400 on top of that, so it's like 3,600 magic damage before resistance if you get that full combo off.
But it's like, I think it's about pure with the Ethereal Blade.
Well, that's I'm including the 40% amp on that. So
okay.
About 3,600 magic damage before resistance is. He's got a Lincoln Sphere, so it's gonna be a tough kill. It could be close, but it'll be tough. Lincoln Sphere is gonna be popped.
For doing the math that I'm too scared to do.
We were paused, or I never would have attempted. But Illidan once again kind of playing this a little bit of an invite here to the Radiant side, and Come With Me. He's been scouted now. He's going to be Bloodthorned up, TP in on top of the Weaver, but it looks like he will be able to blink out as he doesn't take any damage. BZZ looking for him, but is going to whiff with the Illusory Orb. However, the Slardar is looking to coil dropped as well, and you can see how desperate these teams are to get the numbers advantage, as these 5v5 full-scale engagements have been so even. Now Ping, he's going to jump forward. Kefka is there as well. They're going to hex up the Timber Saw. Kefka going to look to find more. The epicenter is coming through. It will connect onto the Slardar. They force him back, and he gets the BKB off before the second Starstorm comes down. Board time will be there for Yule. They'll Yule's up the Weaver as well as Come With Me. He gets the Bloodthorn off onto Ping, but they don't have enough damage to bring him down. And again, it's just when all is said and done, no one is dead. They get the Dagon off, but the BZZ puck gets the face shot. He is out behind enemy lines. However, Finger of Death is going to be there. They get the burrow. They get the vacuum. They will get the puck. And it takes about a minute of fighting, but someone will end up dying. F5 are going to lose their puck. He does have buyback available, and Prodota aren't insanely healthy at this point. So not sure that they can do all that much with this pick. Maybe they look for a Roche attempt.
And in fights like that, if you're a Mirana, you wish you had an Aghanim Scepter instead of the Dagon. You blast him once, yeah, that one guy's going to hurt, but if you jump in to a situation where you're like versus 3-4 heroes at one time, Starstorm, I'm pretty sure would have killed off that Slaughter just by Mirana being in the area, but alas, not to be the case. It is a pickoff on a puck that it does seem like it's kind of just an empty pickoff. Like, they use all their cooldowns. Everyone uses all their cooldowns, but killing a puck doesn't really mean you can do anything off that. They're going to pressure in towards mid. Come With Me is tactically baiting in the bottom lane. Still in the same trees. Somehow he's, like, even dug them in. I don't even know how you just force staffs through the trees, I guess. Sure, why not?
Oh, they might
But
find
they
Yul.
shove the mid lane, looking to intercept someone over in bottom. They caught Yul, but he's got borrowed time. Blink Dagger force staff. Someone teleporting
This
in.
is not the fight.
Will drop him very low, but the borrowed time will keep him alive. They lose the line. Now Guard is going to get bashed. He's going to get some help with the Yule Scepter. Echo Shell as well. He leaps out of there. BKB now active, but Illidan doesn't care about that. He'll tear him to shreds. Ulti's going to drop an Epicenter only onto Armman, but the pipe holds once again, and they'll lose 2, probably 3, as Come With Me is going to get crushed and obliterated by Illidan. That's a triple kill for the Weaver. That's a Lion with no buyback, and that's Prodota going a little bit too deep for only an Abaddon kill.
Yeah, I mean, Abaddon is not the hero you initiate on there. I really like the idea overall, but it's just takes way too long to kill that hero. And Kefka trying to shove in top lane, but BZZ immediately responding to that. He's got his bots too as well to rejoin the fray at any given moment. So it looks like F5 will be able to march down this mid lane, at least with no Lion for 50 seconds.
Well, Sand King's going to buy out. That's, I guess, kind of nice for F5, since the Sand King doesn't even have an Epicenter, so he's just a walking Burrow Strike, not even an Aghanim to Burrow Strike. Not really all that useful right now. It's only just Pink Vinchek holding down the fort, and they know they're going to pounce on him. Stun him once to show him who's boss, but Illidan can tear through this tower like nobody's business, especially when there are not many threats. No creeps substantially going in towards mid or bottom or even top for that matter. They're going to try to go in for the Weaver. Lots of damage, but Time Lapse is going to redeem all of that. Vacuum back into walls, good onto 3, but again, there's no damage here. The Sand King's going to drop very low. Force Staff will keep him alive somehow. And it seems like Prodota, even with their lack of damage, going to force F5 back. They do, however, buy back on the Mirana, and that's something that she really didn't want to spend the money for. Not like she could have bought anything more useful, but that's now a buyback she can't have in the upcoming minutes of the game. And still, bottom lane, mid lane, they're all pushing in towards top. As if they keep cutting these waves, eventually top will be pushing in towards as well. So Prodota, they're going to just lose to the creeps if F5 just camp out here. They really have to make something happen.
Yeah, they're going to just slow siege this with the illusions, as we've seen time and time again. Whenever a Shadow Demon is in the game. They do have some good ways to deal with these, though. Kimber saw namely one of those. And now that the Epicenter... Oh, I guess the Epicenter wasn't used. Just the Burrow Strike initiation. So really, not a great opening for F5 here. They are going to at least take BZZ back towards base to deal with their tier 4s being chipped at. But again, he does have the bots too, so can look to rejoin. It's just neither team really willing, you know, at this 70-minute juncture to give an opening to the other team. They both really want fights to be taken on their terms.
Illidan puts his boots on the courier, replaces it with a BKB.
Okay.
This is like the best possible situation to have a BKB when it's super late and unless he dies first thing, Bubble's gonna keep him alive. BKB on the Slaughter, Illidan's gonna time lapse back to full. He'll be just fine. But 10-second BKB charge 70 minutes into the game, that is so hard to deal with. This is not really an all-in move necessarily by Illidan, but it has like the most possible value. He's gonna get Burrow Struck. He has to use the BKB, of course. So far hasn't happened. BZZ gonna jump in. Coil only onto the Lion, but with the Yule Scepter, he'll be just fine. Golden Star gonna land another 2-man crush. Illidan now gonna have the BKB and just tear Kefka apart. He will be able to go Ghost Form. He will survive for a little while long. Come With Me is gonna blink in, but to do no damage to the Epicenter at all. And Illidan still just sitting in the tower, also doing very little damage. Everyone just walking away from him. BZ gonna call it the Burrow Strike with the blast and the Dagon. They'll kill off the puck, jump forward from Garter. Looking for Yul, pops the borrowed time kind of early. Illidan's still here at full HP, so Prodota got to be very careful. They do get the disable onto Illidan. Nice crush, though, from Gold Star, and that lets someone else teleport in as well. They're going to drop the Timber Saw super low. Lion as well. None too healthy. They'll buy back with the Timber. Fiver's looking like he's going to fall in the trees by himself. Illidan gets a double kill. Now Ping is back, but you don't have much backup, Timber, so you should probably reconsider. And Weaver is very slow at this point, only Shikuchi for mobility, but he still packs a wallop, and Prodota still cannot deal with him. Come With Me is still running from someone. Look at that. I don't think he's living.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get him if he times this. He doesn't, but he gets the Dagon. Daytime Vision going to help him out in that front. And now 6 seconds until his bots too are up. Can rejoin the freight bottom lane. No buyback available on the Sand King or the Lion. This should be the beginning of the end, barring a big misstep from F5. Illidan, he's got his BKB cooling down in 5 seconds, so doesn't need to completely rely on this time-lapse arrow. Will split the wickets here in the top lane, and Illidan takes out that all-important tier 3. Will pop up his BKB. They're going to hex up Pingvin. Check, jump forward. Crush is going to catch him as well. Dagon is going to be there, and he's going to be dead. That's a dieback onto Ping, and that's 3 heroes down for Prodota, none of which have buyback. And it looks like Fantastic 5, 75 almost minutes into this game. Nice 4-staff forward from Golden Star. Is gonna look to they're gonna look to mount a final defense here. The vacuum wall is nice, but it's just not enough damage from Kefka and Prodota's side. They're going to try and bring down Illidan here. He's got time lapse and he's just baiting it out. Jump forward, crush, bash onto Garter. Illidan still fairly healthy. And everyone is going to be able to secure Mega Creeps for Prodota. And the Ancient is to fall here as well, guys. Last best of 2 of the day here on BTS 2. Prodota are going to fall in Game 1. Fantastic 5 will be able to get it done. And if there's any Pro Dota game I've ever casted that looked like a pub, that would be the closest thing to it.
Game was decent, though, for Game 1. That was definitely not your standard game.
Yeah, absolutely. So, unfortunately, Prodota unable to outlast Fantastic 5. And as you mentioned, in the late game, if you lack damage, Weaver is just a hero that can have free reign over the fights. And despite quite a few, it felt like missteps early on from Illidan up on the high ground, the few first attempts, he only ends up with 5 deaths in the game, 22, 5, and 19. And overall, a very good showing from Fantastic 5. Good patience from them. And as we both kind of touched upon, RMN with his disruptions, certainly MVP caliber. So they'll take a 1-game lead here, guys, and look to close out the series coming up next here on twitch.tv/BeyondTheSummit 2. It's MRP, Mike Loris. We'll be back with Game 2, the final game of the day, shortly.